can't
Probably,
you?
probably works better if I take the mute off, doesn't it?
Definitely. How are you this morning?
Good morning, Elizabeth. I am doing really well. I've had a busy morning, just like you have. Working hard for the dollar, as they say. How about you?
Yeah, pretty much the same. I mean, one thing about this new world that we're in, it's everything is new in some ways because you're learning to do what you did before with new technologies, and it's been quite interesting today. The thing was about live streaming large audiences into YouTube. So, that's something that we're interested in because we want
Absolutely. That's
to
what we're going to do, aren't
expand
we,
our
Elizabeth?
conversation. Yes, because we want to expand our conversation because um, for me, what interests me about this that we're doing is that I think it's not just our conversation. I think there's a lot of people who would relate to our experience. And also, I think there's going to be so much learning from hearing the experiences of others, that's how they differ from our own, for example.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The main reason we've done this, we should say who we are. We're two black sisters, aren't we?
Black sisters, we are
We are
indeed.
two black sisters because, number one, we are sisters, which I'm sure you're going to realize is a massive advantage, only in that we know each other, kind of how our minds work, being members of the same family. So it's an advantage in that sense. But also, we've chosen sisters because our intention is, in time, is as we heat up the debate and the topics for discussion, for people to join us, because we really do have a lot to talk about. And this has kind of come about now because I reached out to Elizabeth because I'm in a podcast and it's a fantastic podcast. And it's basically done by the Sound Factory. And I'm about to repost it because I'm very proud of it. But it very much places me as, on the one hand, Audrey Hall, broadcaster, presenter, experienced, but coming from everything from a Black perspective. And then it places me equally with a big push towards the music. And the reason why I wanted to kind of seek your counsel, Elizabeth, was something that we talked about a few weeks ago on Clubhouse, which is, it is our identity. It is very much a part and parcel of who and what we are. It does actually inform everything, regardless. So no, we shouldn't need to be hiding it at all. We should be able to be shouting it out from the highest banisters. But
Mm,
Elizabeth, the big thing with that is this whole thing about complicity and biting the hand that feeds you. So
yeah.
that's why I wanted your guidance. It's kind of, it's a really, really strong, bold move, I think, to say, I'm telling it as it is. Here it is. I'm laying my cards on the table.
Definitely.
But from doing that, it actually identifies you as somebody who fits into either the arrogant, aggressive, chip on the shoulder, expecting something for nothing, always moaning, always going on about racism person. And bearing in mind, it is your life's work and has been your life's work for the last 30 years. You've never needed to draw a separation, Elizabeth, have you?
Well, that's an interesting one because I think, if I was honest about that, I would say I have suffered for that in terms of work roles. So you're right, I haven't compromised. I'll go back one step. You said about us being sisters, and thank you for that, that introduction, because it's beautiful, and hopefully we can use that each time if we find out how to be clever enough to replay that bit. But you said it so well. Except I think it's important to say that our experience, despite being sisters, is entirely different. Our experience,
Oh yes,
so we've
it
said,
is. It is.
yes, but we said that you know, we've said how it can be helpful of knowing where we kind of come from, but
No,
it
no,
doesn't
no. I
mean
like that
that
absolutely,
we've had
Elizabeth. And you're right. You're right.
yeah,
Our life experience has been completely
very
different.
different.
Something else that I think is very important that I want to state right at the start of this is you and I getting busy. This is you and I starting to, as they would say, kick ass. I don't know how you want to describe it, but it's time you and I started to monetize properly. And I don't mean that in as a dirty word. I mean using our skills to help to train others, using what we have, our expertise in the areas, two completely separate areas, but which again marry. We are hoping that it's not just going to be a talking shop. It's not just going to be a moaning shop. It's going to be a, well, what should we do next shop? And hopefully, if either you or I can't decide where to go next, we certainly know somebody who can. And I think it's important that we're coming to this. Yes, we're sisters, of course. Yes, we're professionals, of course. But more importantly, we're both coming at this from our own skill set base as well. So it's life experience, world experience, work experience, and hopefully something that, you know, by sharing very candidly the realities of our lives,
Yes,
foibles
yes,
and the things that you have to think about daily, it will help. So as I say, here I am in this dilemma. Here I am. This is Audrey Hall, very much, very strong. This is who I am. What do I do? Do I say, listen, folks, you know what? You know, you might have watched Trevor McDonald and Charlene last week with the documentary of what happens, what's the reality of Black life in Britain post George Floyd. Equally, you may have watched Leanne Pinnock with all of the celebrities talking again about the reality of racism. I mean, again, it's post George Floyd, but again, what she was talking about was colorism. So, you know, mixed race as opposed to black. So yes, we have got those conversations, but these are
yes.
conversations that we have been having
Oh, yes,
all our
indeed,
lives.
indeed. But the crux where you opened it up, it's absolutely, you know, can you do it without paying a price? And my honest answer to that is no. I mean, I think you do pay a price. I have been doing it, but what I would say is that I've seen as a result of that, I've seen some of the groups I am in grow. Let's be fair. Okay, my activist group has grown. My sphere of influence about those people, with those people who have, I suppose, a public role and some sort of standing in those terms, you know, they've got letters after their name, and but still are activists, that has grown somewhat. But this is all the non-paid field, yeah? So this is where it steps exactly into what you've talked about. I mean, I feel like money's still a dirty language. Nobody likes talking about money. So let's leave that out of it for a minute, because I think it's very important to look at what goes underneath it. You can start with money, but it just sounds like you're saying, give me some, and
No,
you don't warrant some.
no.
But
I
actually,
understand that. I
somebody
understand
else
that.
doesn't have to make the
No,
statement that
I
we're
understand that.
making.
But what I was trying to do was
And it's the fact that they don't have to make that statement. That's the very thing that you're talking
absolutely,
about.
no,
They
absolutely,
don't have to
absolutely.
come to this point where they say, and now I need money for it, because it's absolutely ludicrous that you should be asking somebody to be a speaker to your function, to come and open your event or do whatever, without thinking thinking that they're supposed to be paid for it. Where did it even come from that it was supposed to be free? I don't get that. And you know that somebody who is I won't say he's a very good friend, he's not, but he is a friend, Dr. Les Henry. And I remember this many years ago, nearly sort of 20 years ago it must be, I had him for a Unison Black History Month thing. And, you know, he talks about education. Les Henry is also a lyricist. He's a music man as well in the background. Lots of things that he is, but he's a professor right now. So so he's in academia. But right on, brother, all the way. And I remember, you know, one of the things in Unison, we don't pay people to do our events. Now, that's a very different thing in the trade unions, because what we're doing there is saying people who get on board should be, if you like, tied into the principles of what it means, the worker movement, and they're giving something of themselves for free.
So well, it's part and parcel of who and what they are. So it's the work that they do.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And also,
and it's expected.
Yes. And so it's you're giving back. Like I would do that. It wouldn't matter how famous I would ever get. If a trade union asked me to come back, because that was my early beginnings and I know what trade unions did, I would probably, you know, you're probably not only giving them 15 minutes or 20 minutes for a speech. We're not asking people to do an overnight, but, you know, you tend to pay for people's expenses and whatever. But anyway, I digress. The point is, he said then, you're paying me. And I said, oh, well, but we don't even have really a budget to do that. I can pay for all your expenses, anything staying over, any of that, you know, you name it, your meals. So he said, no, you have to pay me a fee. Even if it's a nominal fee, you need to pay me. Because if this was, and he went into it, you know, this was a different thing, basically he put it on that level. If it was if your white organization, and at that time it was, you know, Manchester City Council, we were holding it in, the event in, they put an event on, they wouldn't dream of having a speaker without paying them. So I understand that this is your black members thing, and I'm one of 6. I think we had Marilyn Conry back then, and as well, and we had artists on and all sorts. Big event. In any event, 150 quid, I remember that amount. And he was determined that that nominal fee should be.
He was right. Elizabeth,
he was right. And he's the
right.
first person who said it. So I shut up now.
No. But the point of it is I didn't. I think all I was trying to say, and perhaps I didn't say it as succinctly as I should have done, is that we are now going out. This is a business. This isn't just you and I talking randomly about a bit of this and a bit of that. It's time for us to now start to it's now time for us to as you say, by doing this, continue to raise our profile, but at the same time to say, listen guys, this is here for you too. So it's just to establish that, you know, yes, I'm a broadcaster, yes, you're a trade unionist, you're an activist, blah, 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 blah. But in addition, these are services that we are now actively going to start to promote.
Well,
so
you're
I just
right.
want people to know that that was the point. But you're right. You're so right. And that thing, you see, this is such a big topic, Elizabeth. I work in community radio. Community radio means I'm a volunteer. Obviously, it means I'm a volunteer. That means I don't get paid. Not only do I not get paid, I actually need to pay subs. And, you know, we've had a year where we've had coronavirus. I mean, I can talk about this freely because I've just paid a year's subs in what do you call it when you do it after? You know what it is. Not in lieu. That's before. I can't think of what the word is. But basically, I've just paid for 2020. I've just paid my fees for 2020. But the truth of it is because of this condition I have in my eye, I can't see to drive in the dark. So from November through till February, for me to go and do my show, I actually have to get a taxi. That means it actually costs me to do my show in the winter months, £50 per week to get a taxi to go there to do the show. The point of it is, I'm talking about me as though I'm some special case. I am not a special case. Multiply this across community radio, I was going to say countrywide, but you might as well say worldwide. And in actual fact, multiply this across the fact that, in inverted commas, I like to call it the third sector, the amount of work that is done unpaid by people caring is phenomenal. It is a huge topic of conversation,
Huge.
Elizabeth, and one hopefully you and I will enjoy talking about another
Oh
time.
yes, so
Basically,
that's
the world
something.
is running on work being done
Yes,
on the goodwill of people, and COVID,
yes,
whilst it's been, yes, we're all in this together and isn't this great and it's community spirit and blah 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 blah, the reality is, look underneath those figures and channel down even more and look at the people who have always been caring for people for free forever.
yes.
Add
Say
that
it.
into it is a massive,
Let's
massive
hear it.
part of the
We'll talk about
GDP.
that.
But we'll talk
We'll
about it
tune
another
into
time.
that one.
But back to
Tune
you
into that one.
saying
And
that
please
it's
let
got
us know in the chat.
consequences.
Let,
Yeah,
let us
absolutely.
know in the chat that if anything that we're touching on here now, because we're doing this live today. We've done this live on Zoom. We're going to post it to our YouTubes, but you can comment, so please do comment anything that we've touched on that you want us to follow up. Please give us an indication in the chat function. Do let us know. And when we're going to be going out, hopefully by next week, it will also be going out live on YouTube, and then you can tell us in the minute, and then we can see what you're interested in and we can expand to that level, or we can start doing a little list. We have a long list of what we need to talk about. Absolutely. And so please do let us know. Sorry to jump in on that, Audrey.
No, absolutely right.
We want the interaction. We want the interaction from you out there. We're talking to you as well as with each other, and that's what we'll really enjoy is having you talk to us as well and tell us what you want.
Absolutely. Elizabeth, but just really to just come back to what advice would you give?
What you were actually saying, which was, is there a price to pay? And I was saying,
yes, there is.
Because I've done risk, I've lost jobs. I wouldn't be able to put my absolute finger on it. When I say that, I probably couldn't prove it exactly in court, but they know, and I know, and they know, and we know, and everybody around knows, and other ways will be found. I think you risk putting yourself into an isolated place. You risk certain work coming in, and you see your acceptability diminish. You get hived off and seen in that one bubble, the bubble of she's got a black thing. It's what used to be called the chip on the shoulder. Exactly. I mean, you use the word racism now, but I wouldn't even use that. It's still that traditional chip on the shoulder thing. It's much more rudimentary. They think that you've got a problem. So, sorry, Audrey, I just wanted to finish off because you'd asked me and I finished. I finished.
I mean, I'm very proud of it because it says categorically who and what I am. And as I say, Elizabeth, it is, I believe, a pretty good account, not only of who and what I am, but of the reality of life in Britain. No, obviously, that I'm not for 1 second suggesting that, listening to Audrey Hall for 38 minutes beats watching, an ITN documentary done with Trevor Phillips and with Charlene, both seasoned, excellent presenters and reporters with footage and clips and this, that, and the other. Or glitz, if you like, that comes along with the similar discussion hosted by Leanne Pinnock with various celebrities. We are all talking about the same thing, which is, because of the color of our skin, we are not treated the same. It's okay for celebrities to say it. You know, it's attractive for celebrities to say it. It doesn't seem to be so attractive for ordinary people to be saying it. And therein lies my dilemma, Elizabeth. I mean, as I say, I'm very proud of it. And I will post it and say, this gives you as good an overview on the reality of Black life in Britain as the 2 documentaries that went out last week. But
Well, I'm
I'm not
sure it does. I'm
leaving
sure
it
it gives a better one. I'm sure it gives a better one because, you know, you're coming from such a, you haven't muddied the waters by celebrity. I mean, I was on this 5-day, the sort of live stream thing with the Tony Robbins, Dean Graciosi last week. And one of the things they were saying, they had this guy, Trenton, a very, very famous guy anyway, whose name I can't remember. That's another subject.
We'll find it.
Age and the forgetfulness. I mean, that's a whole other subject.
I love the fact that it practically takes all of us to tell a story these days to get the whole
Anyway,
story together.
Anyway,
yes.
Trenton, this wonderful guy, absolutely inspirational man. And what they said, I know I'm going to forget what it was that I was going to say. Oh goodness sake! Tell me what you were saying.
It was all about the price that you pay and the fact that, you know, I've done this thing and it very, very much, I
the very
think,
last thing you said,
who I am. But the point of it is it's half of
celebrity.
Audrey is the actress.
Yes,
Audrey
celebrity.
is the, and who is this person anyway? She's just this little person anyway. We don't care what she's got to say about this racism thing, when actually we've got the glitter and glitz of this and the glitter and glitz of that.
But okay, so what these people were doing, they're talking about exactly formulating, they formulated platforms of what they call, it's the experience something generation. Anyway, but basically it is that beyond the skills that they were teaching people, it became more powerful to talk about the journey. So they were going to be telling people how to set up businesses, how to monetize, all this stuff we think we want, but actually what people really wanted to hear, what became the thing that made them millionaires and actually billionaires, is the journey.
Wow, that's good. That means this is our gene. We're going to be billionaires.
And so it was the journey. And what they said was, and what I was qualifying really was why it's important, the story that you had to tell, because everybody's journey is what's the powerful thing. The powerful thing is the journey you went on. And actually, you know, your journey gets tainted a little bit the richer you get. And they admitted that. Trent Shelton, that's who the black guy was. I'm sorry, anybody who's offended by me saying black guy, I use black in the political sense. I to unify people who are black and brown, really, who've had similar experiences of oppression and discrimination. So I should say that. Trent Shelton, that's his name. Please do look him up. Millions of followers. Fantastic guy. And he was saying, yeah. I mean, they're like rich people problems, because they're what they're talking about when they're talking about triumphing things. It shifts, it's different. You know, we're talking about monetizing in the first place, and they're going to be talking about getting their next jet. You know, that's their next problem. And
Do you know,
and it doesn't mean that so what they're talking about is any less interesting, because they want to get to millions of people. I mean, there was 900 and so many thousand people, almost 1 million people that participated in this across their platforms. Yeah.
well, you know, for now, you and I are doing this from one. We will. I think that's something else that we'll do, Elizabeth, as well. We'll set ourselves some goals as well. Oh dear. And we'll also do things like make sure our phones are switched off for the next time. But this is the first one, and I think it's an important first one. You've mentioned a few things there that you know I would like to just reiterate, because I think we should kind of wrap up. Number one is we're looking for participation. So when we start doing it, we're going to decide on the regular time that we're going to do this. It will be a weekly slot. And it will be an opportunity where we will be airing something of relevance that has happened. It might have happened today, tomorrow, or it might be going to happen in the future. It will be something of relevance to our lives. That does not necessarily mean it's our Black lives, but that we unquestionably are two Black sisters, and we unquestionably are talking about the reality of our lives, our perspective. Black life in Britain, bearing in mind we are both British born. I think the other important thing that you said, Elizabeth, is that you're looking for people to comment, so we'll be wanting that kind of interaction. And what else was something else important that you said? That yes, there is obviously a price to play in standing up and shouting out who we are. But I kind of end where I started, which is I don't believe that it's something that I have a choice about. I'm Black, I'm a woman, I'm proud. The things that I'm talking about are things that are being experienced by women everywhere. I can't hide that, and why should I? So I think actually, Elizabeth, what you're kind of saying is do it. Am I right?
There's no question for me. I long ago made the decision that that's how I was going to live my life, with integrity. And integrity for me means I can't any longer deny who I am. I don't think there was anything ever wrong with it. I think that it was society that found something wrong with it. I'm not going to deny that I was empowered by what's happened in Black Lives Matter, but I doubt that I've said anything different on a platform during this last year than I have been saying for the last 15, 18 years. So, yeah, I made the decision long ago that when I started to identify the different levels of the ways that we experience discrimination, racism, race discrimination. I mean, I can call out lots of different kinds of discrimination. I'm an intersectional woman. I can call out more than one type. But if I'm talking about race discrimination, yeah, I started to see the subtleties of that long ago, when I would try and bring up the fact that I was getting different treatments in work. It's blatant. It's blatant. People think that, you know, and people can get away with it because they're in the majority in a workforce. It's outrageous. It is so outrageous. I think of just situations where all the people, all the white folks decided they, you know, they're like in their gang, they're a group because they all understand, they all have the same type of music that they like, and it's probably not what I like, and they might even, you know, have a different way of dressing, or I don't know, but they've got some kind of, I don't know, some kind of unwritten code that some gang I can't get into, but it means that they gather in one part of the office, and that's not the conversation for me. And they're having this something that they're all going to this place on the weekend, and they've all decided it, and everybody's going, but I haven't even had the invitation. And yeah, and here's the thing. You can say that that's just about, oh, well, you weren't their mate, you know, well, you weren't their friend or whatever. But it's about when you use that sort of dynamic in a workplace to exclude someone. And that is racist. It's downright being, you know, treating people in this way. So if you just switch it around and that was an all black workforce, would you? No, you don't have to be friendly with you know, that one white person who's come to work with you, but would you always push it in their face? Would you always make a point about letting them know that they're excluded from whatever it is that you're doing? You know, those sorts of things are very poor treatment in the workplace. So it was about looking at those things and looking at what, you know, without calling it racism, what was the expanded experience if you were from a different race? If you different race, there's only one race, the human race, to use
Exactly.
that phrase.
Do
But
you know
if you were from a
something?
different culture, if you were black or brown, in my instance, I'm glad that we're not going to have to just dabble with all of that. People can see who I am. I'm not trying to speak for everybody else. This is what we're doing in here. We're sharing our experience as people who look like us and who've come from a parentage that we can, I guess, we're talking from that standpoint of what we know. Our parents were born in Jamaica. They were immigrants in the 50s. They came over and started with nothing. And we're talking from that locus. But we would be ones who, when you fill in the forms now that want to say, oh, has a generation of your family ever been to university? We'd have to actually say yes, because our mum did go. Our father didn't go, but our mum did go. And he, you know, he remained really a low class worker, labourer, really.
Do you know something,
And
Elizabeth?
still gave us a legacy that we all shared after his death. I mean, so that's another thing. Let's talk about
It's like every
talk
sentence we
about
say there's about another, you know, there's about another 30, not 30, but there's at least 3 or 4 topics there that you mentioned that we have to
we have to. And you don't have to be
childhood and
Louise
growing up and
Dacre-Codia. You don't have to be Louise Dacre-Codia to deserve some merit. You know, our parents did such a brave job. They really, really did. Whatever we all experienced, and yes, we can go through the whole belt era. I was watching a very interesting program yesterday, which is coming out on Sky, and they touched on that. It was so funny. It was really, I mean, they made it be a joke. I mean, we all joke about it, but I think there's a common experience out there. So it'll be interesting to talk about it. I think these things deserve a platform, and they deserve to be spoken about, because when people didn't understand why people were being upset in their workplaces and their homes after Black Lives Matter, it's because nobody seemed to have the understanding that this life experience is what we were going through all the time.
I said it at the time and I'm going to say it again now. You know, Black Lives Matter and George Floyd, may he forever rest in eternal peace. What that was, it seems too simplistic to say it's time that people started to listen. I said at the time, this is not a soundbite. This is not a headline. This is not here for today. This is my life. because there was such a media frenzy when it happened that for, I think it was precisely 5 days, it led with the news items everywhere. By day 5, it had slipped off the top slot, Elizabeth. And what I have noticed in this ensuing year is, whilst, yes, there has been
What had
some
slipped off the
progress,
top slot?
Black Lives Matter. The whole thing about Black Lives Matter, the implications of the death of George Floyd and what it means. So it was, George Floyd's death was number one in the news for about 5 days from the day that he died. And it went on with his death, and then it went into various blah, 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 and then it went into Black Lives Matter, and it went into all sorts of blah, blah, blah. By about day 5, they'd already started to question the Black Lives Matter thing, and is it a charity, and is it in the UK, and is it this, and is it that, and is it the other, and is this new? No, it's not new. This is something that's forever. So by day 5, it had already started to sort of question what's Black Lives Matter, but it had slipped off the top. When I say the top slot, I mean the number one in the news item. So by day 5, it had already slipped off it. I've carried on talking about this all year. You were just talking about things that happen in the workplace, and you know that I had 3 I call really, really significant features on my show last year. The first was with Olatunde Spence. She talked about something that I didn't even know existed until that time. She gave it a name. It's called Black trauma, and she placed it in the context of generational discrimination, gender discrimination, education, crime, all the way through. So Olatunde Spence first gave it a name, Black trauma, because I was beside myself. I didn't know what to do with all of this stuff, this anguish that I was feeling. The second one was with Diane Grayson, who came on a week before you, under the International Women's Week theme for 2021, which is Choose to Challenge, which, as I say, as far as I'm concerned, is a huge challenge in itself, even that title. So I would want to question why, because it's not easy for us to choose to challenge. But she came on, but she is the one that talks about exactly what you were talking about, which is what goes on in the workplace. Because I wanted to know, how is it that people working in a workplace can say that they have different experiences of what's going on there? And she said it makes a difference of who it's being done to. If it's being done to you, you're going to feel very differently than if you're the person who is doing it. And as in the people who is doing it, it means the majority. And then the third person, who was of massive significance in terms of understanding what's going on in terms of inherent systemic racism and what we can do about it, was you, Miss Elizabeth Cameron, speaking in your role as the chair of Greater Manchester Race Panel, talking about the exciting work, the huge task, but the exciting work that you're planning to do for the year ahead. So yeah, Elizabeth, really serious conversations. I am learning all the time. I'm delighted to be learning all the time. You know, the first thing that I did, let me tell you this, for a seasoned and you know, right on supposed Black journalist, when George Floyd died, and I was actually supposed to be on holiday. I'd just announced I was going on holiday, and what basically happened is Debbie Mackey died on Sunday, and George Floyd died on the Monday. And they were so huge to me in terms of my career and in terms of my life. It's like, there's no way that I can be off. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to do a program. So I did, and I had various discussion panels and this, that, and the other. But it absolutely took its toll on me. And then on the 24th of July, so much so, because I kept saying Black Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter. This is the stuff that I've been talking about all my broadcasting career. That is 30 years. The narrative has not changed. So what was pointing to me was, well, Audrey, obviously you're not saying it in the right way. You're not saying it hard enough. You're not saying it often enough. It made me not so much doubt myself, but it made me feel somehow less than in what I've been doing all of this time. So I was actually wavering on what's the point. And then Denise Johnson died on the 24th of July, which completely floored me yet again. And, you know, Denise never gave up, Elizabeth. Her album came out posthumously. She's been working on that album for 20 years. She never gave up. She is somebody who suffered as well because of the color of her skin,
Is
because
the
of
album
what they
good? Do you
want.
do you enjoy the album?
What was that? Sorry, what's the album
I
called?
haven't heard the album.
Where Does It Go? It's called.
Oh,
And actually, you have, darling, because you heard Denise's feature, and I played it through her feature. I played various of the songs through. So you've heard about 4 tracks
the
from the album. But yeah, Where Does It Go? It's called. And you know, she sent me the picture. She and I were looking at I'm not suggesting I was her only friend, because obviously she has more friends, and you know, I have to mention Sue at the same time because she was a dear friend for many years too. But you know, she'd sent me the pictures and we were looking at them, and I remember looking at them with her, and I'm saying, no, don't go with that one, we'll go with that one, because one of the other ones with she's looking out against a window and there's water running down and it looked like tears on her face. I was like, we won't use that one because that looks like tears. No, let's use one that's obviously looks like water. And you know, and obviously I say we chose it, she sought by opinion. But I know about her work. I know what's happened to her in terms of her career. I know, you know, that it became Denise going out acoustically, found a fantastic guitarist, started to do gigs, but she's been at it for as long as I've been at it, and she didn't give up. And that made me feel, well, she never said no, so I can't say no, and I can't stop. And how can I deny who and what I am? Which basically brings me back to full circle and to your advice, Elizabeth, isn't it? How can I deny who and what I am?
well, I don't think you can, but I think that I think that there's a middle road between having to conform totally to a world that doesn't want to see our blackness, and one that makes you feel a bit sick at the person who comes home with you each evening. You know, you there is something in between. I think there is something in between. So we'll talk more about that. Is there something in between? Yes.
I think I'll post it and say, tell me what you think.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So are you saying that we should finish here today? And
well, unless there's something else, because I know this has been kind of centered around my question and, you know,
that's a
complicity.
great question. Great question. Great question. And I, you know, a lot depends on a lot. You know, it's when people tell you to jump on board of this is the best opportunity you could, and if you believe in yourself, you're going to put all your money. Yeah, you know what, use your credit card. You've got £7,000 on that credit card. It's going to be £14,000 for this coaching, but you know, you're going to be earning 100,000 by the end of the year. And I often think, you know, it's like, well, that's all right if you had well just yourself, but I've always had children. I've always had responsibilities, if you like, and been the main provider for them and for myself. I haven't had somebody else do that for me, and so my choices were always very different, and I always just get to this point where I go, well, that's all right for you. You know, that's okay if you've got a husband in the background, or that's all right if you've got mummy or daddy's money, or that's all right if you're just by yourself and you don't mind, you know, you've got no things that if you suddenly became homeless, it wouldn't really matter, you just build it all up over again. You know, I just feel like everybody's experience is unique and different, and you know, that's why I know what's right for me. I know what's right for me, but I'm not going to be prescriptively telling anybody else what's right for them, because I don't know all the circumstances of their life. I don't know if the person they have to tell that they're about to give up their job because they can't stand the treatment in the workplace anymore is going to say, well, frankly, you know, our family won't eat then. You know, they can't take that choice. They can't take that choice, perhaps. So it's just all these. I feel like, you know, in yourself, you should make the decision that's right for you spiritually and inside of your own heart, because to me, it is really, really important to have that right. I feel
I
good.
already have. I already have. I think what I'm talking about really, Elizabeth, is more perception, and you do have an advantage in that you know me. But, you know, I my activism is all around raising profiles, is all around seeking truth, is all around trying to understand what this thing means. So such and such a thing has happened. Great. What does that mean for Mary, Peter, and John who are living down the road? That's all I try to do. So I think what I'm trying to say is a bit of, I'm concerned that I don't want to come across as somebody who is this raving sort of mad activist who isn't malleable, who sees everything in black and white terms. But I'm saying, no, that isn't me. However, first and foremost, I'm Audrey Hall and I'm a black woman. That's it, I guess. I guess.
Good end, good place to end. Good place
How
to
would you?
end.
How would you just as a matter of interest? How would you describe me
Um, oh, oh,
in
well, how's
terms
this?
of in terms of in terms of in terms of who I am and what I do?
Well, I think that you've explained, yeah, I think you describe yourself best in your own professional terms. You know, you're a broadcaster, you're a journalist, you know, but I mean, uh,
Can
you,
you understand my angst, Elizabeth? Though, can you really understand the angst? It's like I need work and I want to be working with people, but I absolutely
and
I'm
I,
sure of who I am, and this is who I am, and that's it. It is who I am. But it
but
actually sounds, I don't know if it sounds arrogant more than confident, because I articulate like this.
I say there's more than one way. There's more than one way, and there is a middle road. There is a middle road. Of course, there is a middle road. And that's the one that you might need to find, because you want to do your broadcasting, and you know, why are you going to isolate yourself from everybody to hang on to a point that you could make perhaps better from a different platform when you get it, by just being less in your face about that point until you get to a point where you can make the point. Now, I know that sounds all a little bit confusing, but what I'm saying is you shouldn't cut yourself off. That there is this middle road that I'm talking about, because you don't have to be all one thing.
No, no, and I accept.
Or,
I'm trying to
or,
do that actually. Well, you'll be pleased to know I'm going back as a contributor for the BBC. So there you go.
good.
I am
Well,
doing
there
other
you go.
things.
There you go.
Um, but yeah, okay.
So that's what I think. Because you know, you still want to feed your family, as it were, or feed yourself or whoever. And you know, it's possible to do that. Maybe you can have more influence by uh, using using your platform when you get one to raise the point than you will ever stopping yourself from getting the platform. Do you understand me now more what I'm saying?
I think so.
Yeah,
I think
I
so.
think I think that's where I mean, I'm in a different place, because of what it is that I'm fighting for. But when it comes to my corporate training, when it comes to the work that I do in training people about discrimination and equality for LGBT plus, for women, for disabled people, I'm not going to be as in your face with the issues, because I know that it's better to have them all in a room and have an opportunity to influence those people in a conversation where nobody wants to walk out. And then when that's a more solid relationship, feed those things through to listening ears.
I honestly, I think, you know, it's as we keep saying, isn't it, Elizabeth? It's almost like every single thing that we say we know could be a topic of conversation for a good half hour on its own. I think we've probably done more than enough today, probably too much today, but enough to whet the appetite and to understand that, you know, this is the whole point of it, folks. I don't know all the answers. Yes, I'm a seasoned journalist. Yes, I've been doing this for 30 years. No, I won't compromise my integrity in terms of my broadcasting, but I certainly don't have all of the answers. Yes, I can do media training, but I don't have all the answers. You know, this is the whole point of doing this. Elizabeth might have some, but more importantly, you might have some as well. So
Absolutely, absolutely. So let's hear them. Come and join in the dialogue and comment and tell us what you think. And we'll see you again. When will we see them again, Audrey?
we're
This time
thinking,
next week?
well, I don't know whether we're going to do it on the Monday or we're going to do it on the Sunday. It's to be confirmed. I don't know. You prefer it on the
Oh,
Monday, do you?
I don't know at this point.
Sorry, folks, you're not supposed to listen to this. This is a production meeting in development, but we are going to do it weekly,
I
and it
think
is going to be
it's
like
going to
this.
be weekly, and within 7 days we'll be back on again.
Yes, we certainly will.
Okay, we'll try for Sunday.
Well, we'll work out the day. We'll work out the day. We'll take
And
this conversation off air, and we'll work out the day. But it will be
you let us
weekly.
know. When do you want to hear it? And
No,
if you
we
don't
can't
hear
let them.
anything from anybody, then sorry, we're deciding. So at that, goodbye.
Bye.
Nice to talk to you, Audrey. This is Two Sisters going out.
Ciao.
Bye.